Hello and welcome. I'm Debbie Danford from craftiercreations.blogspot.com. And first off, I want to thank everybody who ordered from me last week while I was on vacation with my ordering special. Everything is going out in the mail today on Tuesday. So if you don't get your stuff within a week or so, make sure you let me know. So today I decided to play with the Irresistible Designs Designer Series paper. That's item number 165305. It is, I know it's going to be hard for you to see it. And let's get rid of that cardboard. We have 6 sheets actually, 2 of each design. One is a flower, and hopefully you can kind of see that. They're like white embossed images here, and you can alter these by coloring, blending, brayering, spritzing. There's so many different ways you can alter this. So this one's got the flowers, and then this one has the leaves, and this one's just like that checkerboard textured pattern here. And we're going to make a card with all 3 sheets. So let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to show you 2 here. We're only going to make this one, but I did do another one with the berry burst. And this layout here was inspired by Leanne Graff. I had seen her do something very similar. I used the Glass and Gardens embossing folders for the centerpiece, and then I cut the Designer Series paper and then did some blending, berry burst and basic gray. And then this... So the 2 phrases I used for the cards are from the paper tag set, which is, I used this one and consider this a paper hug, just for you, and consider this a paper hug. I used those 2. And this is actually a bundle. And then we're going to make the petal pink one, but I wanted to show you this one too, just so you could see a different color combination. Okay, this is the embossing folder that I used for this inside strip, and I already have pre-embossed that, but I just used, so these are the 2 embossing folders that come in this one. Let's see if I have something that can stick in here so you can kind of see it a little bit better. So there you go, there's that one. And then this one is flowers, and I haven't really had a chance to play with these all that much, so look for something coming soon with these 2 embossing folders. I think these are awesome. Now, I just took a strip section and embossed it, so you'll see here in a sec. Okay, so let's get that out of the way. Now, let's move our samples. So, like I said, we're going to do 3 different cards today using all 3 sheets. So we're going to do this layout here, which is the same as that one. I did do 2, but we're just going to make the petal pink and basic gray are like one of my favorite combinations to put together. And then I use Petunia Pop and Fresh Freesia here with the flowers. And then the leaves, I used Mossy Meadow. And I threw in that new fancy gold and Mossy Meadow ribbon. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. We'll move these out of the way for right now. And let's bring in our parts and pieces here. It's pretty simple, basic card base. 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. We're just going to set that aside. And then I have a 4 by 5 1/4 basic gray layer, and a 4 by 5 1/4 piece for the inside. And then I cut these 3 strips at 1 1/8 by 5. You could go 1 1/4. I had just cut them at that, and then I thought, well, I could have gone a little bit bigger, but I already had them cut when I did the first one, and I thought, you know what, I kind of like the little bit of gap that's showing, but you could go 1 1/4 and still have enough space to do all 3 of these. And then I have a little tiny strip for the inside. I punched these from the 1 3/4 and 1 7/8 inch punch, and that's for our phrase there. Okay, so let's go ahead and do some blending. And I'm going to bring in, let's move that out of the way, our petal pink and basic gray. I have so many colors out on my desk right now. It's like a mess. Let's just say that. Okay, and let me grab... Oh, this side is actually fairly clean. And we're going to grab this as our scrap piece. And let's bring these in. Okay. Now, what I did, this one we're going to do in the gray, so let's kind of scoot that out of the way. Let's do these three first. I use Petal Pink, and we're going to just start off the edge and then go about halfway. And you're going to do that on both of them and the inside piece. And of course, you can make these as light or as dark as you want, depending on, I always like to say, if you're a heavy-handed blender, then, you know, always start light. And if you're a light-handed blender like me, then, you know, you're always going to have to go back and add a little more. Now, like I said, you could use a brayer if you wanted to. I like using the blending brushes. They are my favorite. So that's what I tend to lean towards. Okay, now we're going to add the basic gray. And we'll stick this on here. Okay, so there's that. And then one more here. Okay, there's our inside piece. Now, I'm going to take this embossed piece, and I'm taking the embossed side. So make sure you could use either side, but I'm going to use the embossed side. And I just kind of went over that too with the basic gray. You don't have to. You could leave it. You could go over it with Petal Pink and just add a little bit more of that if you wanted. Okay, so there's all of that. Then on our circle here, so let's go ahead and, I guess I put that stamp away. Consider this a paper hug. I thought that was really cute, and I hadn't used that bundle yet, and I was kind of just looking for something different, and I thought these were perfect. Okay. Stamp that in the center, just like that. And then I took the Petal Pink and just went around the edges with the blending brush. Now you could do this with a dauber. You could do this by just dipping or rolling this in your ink pad. There's lots of ways. But I kind of wanted it more than just on the edges. So that's why I used a brush, because then I could get it kind of all over, but I still have a little bit of white kind of showing through. So I thought that was perfect. Okay. So that's all we're going to do for stamping and blending and all that kind of stuff. Now, one other thing I want to show you before we start assembling. That's going to go in here. We'll move that out of the way for a minute. If you see on the back here, I have some Petal Pink ribbon. That's from this giant roll of Petal Pink braided, I think they call it Petal Pink braided something. It just says Petal Pink on here, but I think it's like braided ribbon. And it's pretty, it's really not that wide. It's just that it's heavy because it's got all the different braids in it, and it makes it very thick. Which some people would look at this and say, oh, too big, too thick to put on cards, which I agree. However, what you can do is take it apart. So here's like a little bit that's still together, one missing because I pulled one set of strands out, but you can just unbraid it, and then you can just use some of these strands in a different way. So we're going to use these three right here in our card, and then I still have some left over. I think this braided ribbon will last a long time, to be quite honest with you. All right, so let's go ahead and start doing some assembly here. Now, what I do, we want one of these to go this direction, and we want one of these to go this direction. I kind of lay them out here, just so I know where I want them. And then this one's going to go in the center. I always start, I'm going to add that circle really quick just so I don't lose it. So let's go ahead and put that on there. Okay. I tend to turn it this direction when I go to add. Now I do the two outside ones first, and I'm going to use the mono glue here because these are like smaller pieces and I feel like it's just easier. And I have a little bit of wiggle room here to manipulate these if I feel like I need to move it around a little bit. Okay, so there's one. And then we'll put the other edge down. And yes, you can see I have ink all over my fingers. I dipped my finger in the Berry Burst. I don't know why, but I did. Luckily, I saw it before I touched the inside in the insert for the card, or I would have had ink everywhere. And then this piece goes right here. Okay. And that one goes there. Easy peasy. Look how easy it is. This paper just makes it so easy like to put together quick cards. Okay, let's go ahead and attach this to our card front. That way it's already on and ready to go. And we'll put that on here. Maybe we'll put it on. Okay, there we go. And then this piece will go on the inside. So let's just go ahead and take care of that. And then we'll do our decorating. That's usually how I put a card together. I tend to do the whole front and then do the inside. But sometimes, you know, everybody's got their preference on how they assemble things. Okay. And then this goes on the inside. And if you notice, I work on a flat surface. I don't fold my card base immediately, unless it's something that you need to fold it to like start at, if it's a fun fold or something and you need to do that to start adding your layers. But okay, so there's our pretty much our card. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of adhesive back here. And then I just took all 3 strands, kind of did a loop around, and however you want to do it. And then I just attached them right there, just like that. I like having those tails sticking out, but it looks like I might need a little bit of adhesive right there. Let's look at that again. Yeah, I like that. See, easy peasy. These are so easy to put together. Once I started kind of playing with this paper, I feel like the sky's the limit. I think this paper would work really good for some scrapbook layouts too, because you could alter the colors to suit what you needed. Okay. Pop these off. And then I'm going to put that kind of right there like I did before. I like it off-centered a little bit. And then I used the Charming Shimmer Faceted Dots, and it comes with Berry Burst, Petal Pink, and Night of Navy. And that's why I ended up doing a Berry Burst card. I thought, oh, I'll try it since I have that color here. I didn't do one in Night of Navy. I probably should have, but I didn't. So let's go ahead and pull in a couple of these little blingers. And of course you can put as many on as you want, and you can put them wherever you want. I kind of just kept them in that little area right there. Okay, so there's our first one. I love it. And again, here's the one that's in the Berry Burst too. Now the Berry Burst, I didn't do, I actually think I put the deboss side up. I didn't do, or actually I did go over it with basic gray, but you can't hardly really tell because the Berry Burst is so dark, but I like that with that color. I think the basic gray would look good with yellow also. There's another combination, one of the yellows. I tend to lean towards Daffodil Delight. Crushed Curry and Darling Duckling are very similar. They're a little bit darker yellows. And then we have our Lemon Lolly, which is much lighter. Okay, so moving on. So there's our first one. A good way to utilize this paper. A nice little different kind of layout. All right, so now let's do this one. So this one here, I used Fresh Freesia and Petunia Pop. Colored half of it here, one color there, and added some Petunia Pop ribbon. Stamped, went around the edge, kind of did the same thing. I popped it on a piece of basic black. I was going to use Fresh Freesia, but I really liked the black behind this one. I felt like it made it pop a little more. And then I used the new in colors for the Petunia Pop. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started on this one. Now, I didn't trim this piece down yet for the inside. So we have a 3 3/4 by 5 with the flowers. Now this is the flower design. And then we have a 4 by 5 1/4 basic black, 4 by 5 1/4 white for the inside. And of course this is 5 1/2 by 8 1/2 scored at 4 1/4. This is a circle from the Stylish Shapes. All right, so and then here's our other piece. So let me bring in our paper again, and we're going to get that out. And this one's going to be the Just For You, which I already have out. So we're going to stamp that one. Let's get these over here. And let's just go ahead and stamp that one. And we're going to do it in the Petunia Pop. Sorry if you see my head a little bit. I got to scoot this down just so I can get it in the center. I've got a little bit of a glare going on today, so. All right, slide that out of the way. Let's start with, I'm going to start with the lighter, which is Fresh Freesia. And there is no right or wrong. Let's move that. I always start off the edge though, because then you can, if there's a blop like you see here, you don't get that on your card. And again, if you're heavy-handed, be careful, try to start off lighter. Me, I tend to blend a little bit lighter than some people do. And there's no right or wrong to it. It's all about the pressure and how you would, apply the ink to your paper. Okay, so there's about half. I like it. And you could do it all one color if you wanted to, but I liked having the 2 different colors. Now, Petunia Pop's a little bit darker. See that? So we do want to be careful as we start adding that color, because you don't want to plop on like right in the center and have this really dark image. But I do want to have it very distinctive that there's 2 different colors here. So I am going to make sure this one gets a little bit darker. I mean, look at how pretty that looks. And I'll be honest with you guys, Fresh Freesia, Petunia Pop aren't necessarily my color combination, but I like how they turned out here. Okay. And of course I've got ink on my fingers somewhere because I just see that I put ink over here, but we're not going to worry about it. Now I'm going to bring in our little circle, and we're going to go around the edges here. And I used Fresh Freesia here. I didn't want it too dark, but I wanted just a little bit of color there. But I stamped it in the Petunia Pop. So there's our phrase. Okay, now, oh, here, our little piece. Forgot to do that one. Let's get this piece done. This is for our inside, and it's a little bit longer, but the little scrap left over is just going to be garbage. Basically, it's not worth really doing much with. So there's that, and then let's add a little bit of Petunia Pop. There we go. I think we're good there. Okay, that's everything there. So let's close these up so that we don't get our ink everywhere like I already did. And we'll move that out of the way, and let's bring in our layers. Okay, so now what we want to do is add some adhesive. Boy, this is almost empty. We'll see if I can get through these 3 cards without it running out. And then all I did is I went from corner to corner here. So I taped it down on one corner, and then I just brought it along, and I'm kind of dividing where I guess the 2 colors meet in the middle. And then I'm just going to trim a piece off here. Now I do want to make sure I add a little bit of adhesive there because it wasn't quite sticking. Okay, so let's see if that lines up pretty good. That's pretty good. Okay. Then this is going to go on the basic black layer, just like that. And then I took a piece and just did a half knot here up towards the top. Trim your edges off a little bit. Okay. There's that. Actually, I can trim this one a little bit more. Okay, now let's go ahead and we're going to add this piece to the inside, and then I'll just trim it off as to what I need there. I didn't even put glue on all of it because I know I won't need it all. Okay, there's that. And let's just trim this. Okay, there's our inside. Okay, so let's go ahead and attach this to the front. Maybe. Like I said, I can see the orange coming, so I know it's getting close. I'm hoping I make it all the way through the next card. If not, I'll have to refill it really quick. Okay, so then this is going on our Petunia Pop layer, just like that. And then we're just going to pop this up with some dimensionals, our favorite. Now, are you a mini dimensionals, or do you like the big ones, or do you like using both? I use both. I tend to go towards the minis the most, but I do use the big ones in the right application. And did you know that we have black dimensionals too? And they actually work really well when you are layering black pieces. It does help. And some people like to use the black ones all the time. And let's bring in our 2024 to 2026 in color, what do they call them? Flat pearls, which I like them. They're 3 different sizes, but they're flat, so they're not, even though they're like the last one is a little big, you don't notice it because they're flat. So that's these. I love them. And let's put this on the inside. And then we'll be done with this one too. I'm telling you, these are easy peasy to put together. Okay, there's our second one we did. I like them. Now, last but not least, let's do our little leaf one. This one is really easy because all we did here is, let's bring in our scrap piece to do some blending. And I didn't add a strip on the inside here, but you could because we have a white card base, but you could. I just forgot about cutting one, honestly. Okay, let's bring in our Mossy Meadow. And again, Mossy Meadow is a dark color. So I'm going to kind of start off here. Now, I did not do the whole thing. You can if you want. That's why I'm starting off here, and I'm just doing the center. But if you want to do the whole card, you certainly can. There's no right or wrong to it. And this is kind of what you end up with. Just a highlighted area. Okay, so there's that. And at the same time here, I'm going to go around the edge. Now, I didn't stamp my phrase yet, but I will. I have to clean it. Probably wouldn't look too good if I, although Mossy Meadow's dark, you probably wouldn't have noticed it, but it's always better to clean it. Okay, there's that. Just for you. And then we're going to take a piece of, this is the Mossy Meadow in gold ribbon. So pretty. I hadn't used it yet, and I thought, oh, this will be perfect. So sometimes when I'm kind of picking color palettes to play with, I do tend to look at what ribbon I might have or what bling I might have to see what will coordinate. Just how I operate sometimes. And I don't always do that, but quite often I do kind of see what I've got. Okay, there's that. And now we can do some assembly, and I think we're done with the ink too. Very easy. Like I said, these are all very easy cards to put together. All right. See if I have enough tape. Almost. Okay, so here, this is going to go on here. And then this is a 4 1/4 by 11, scored at 5.5. I already had some of these pre-cut, and I thought, okay, works for me. Sometimes that's how that works too, when you're like trying to pick out maybe the direction or the size of landscape or horizontal layout. Sometimes it depends on what you might already have cut and scored. And right now, this, I am going to fold this a little bit because I was having a hard time seeing the actual score line because of the white. There we go. Okay, there's that. And then again, dimensionals on here. And I normally don't like to put them on the ribbon, but I feel like in this case I might need one in the center, so I'm going to go ahead and put one in the center. And then I'm just going to pop that right down here in this corner, like that. And for these, I use the holographic resin dots. These kind of pick up whatever color you might have on your paper. That's why I thought they would be perfect for this Mossy Meadow, because it kind of picks up that green already. I really like these resin dots. They are awesome. Okay, and we'll fold that. You can use your bone folder. I always tend to use my fingernail. I don't know why. I get a really good crease with my fingernail. There's our last one. Woohoo! I love how they turned out, and I look forward to like playing some more with some more ideas I have with this paper. I think these are so pretty, And I feel like the sky's the limit on what you can do with them. But yet they're so simple to work with. Let's bring in this one. And then, of course, we have the one that's in Berry Burst also. All right. So thank you for much. Blah, 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 I can't even talk. Thank you so much for joining me today. I will have all the links below. Like if you don't follow, if you are not on my mailing list, which is the best way to find out about anytime I am offering an ordering special, or if Stampin' Up! Has sales or things like that, it's better to get on my email list. That way you don't miss out on all those great deals. Let's see, I can't think of anything else today. I thank you all so much for joining me. And if you have any questions about the projects today, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'm always here to answer them. And I hope you all have a great Taco Tuesday. See you guys on Thursday. Bye, guys.